What is up, everybody? Welcome to another World Cup recap here on Touchline Talk. Like always, before I get started, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the rest of the videos I'll be putting up throughout the tournament. And you can scan that QR code that is sitting right next to me on the screen to go check out all of my written work on Substack. You can become a subscriber there as well, so all of that content can get delivered directly to your inbox. Two more groups to run through today as we start learning more about the teams that have reached the round of 16 and what these round of 16 matchups are going to be. First and foremost, Argentina get it done in Group C. 2-0 win over Poland that not only sends them through, but sends them through as the top team in the group. And I want to start here because I was not convinced this was going to happen after that loss to Saudi Arabia. Argentina had a tremendous amount of work to do to go beat the second and third best teams in the group, and that's what was going to have to happen probably for Argentina to end up in this spot. And that is exactly what Argentina did. A pair of 2-0 victories, definitely the better team in both games. Didn't create all that much against Mexico, but Lionel Messi kind of bailed his country out. Surprise, surprise. This game, different story. Argentina were on top from the get-go. Wojtek Szczesny is far and away so far the best goalkeeper of this tournament. I had him on my best 11 without hesitation for match day 2. He's probably going to be on there for match day 3. I mean, he was on pace to shatter the saves record in a World Cup game on the men's side. Now, it sort of tapered off in the second half, and he didn't come up with as many saves as he was on pace for at one point. And I also just don't care that he gave up that penalty, and it was at least slightly controversial. There are always questions to be asked when so often that kind of after the ball is gone contact doesn't amount to anything. I would have given it. I had no issue with it. I'm not going to penalize him too much for it, though. And, by the way, he saved the penalty he conceded. Second penalty save of this tournament. And so, through the first half, Szczesny is keeping Poland in this game. Poland are doing nothing in attack. It's just Argentina peppering Szczesny's net. Defensively, Poland hanging in there. Szczesny coming up with some big saves. And then, ultimately, Argentina get the goals. And from that point on, the game was never in doubt. There was never a point where the momentum swung to Poland, where Poland really took the initiative and tried to get these goals back, even when their World Cup lives became dangling by a thread, and we'll get to that with the second game here. There was just not another gear that Poland was able to kick into. Argentina dominate from beginning to end. You get a couple different goal scorers. It's not Messi this time. Alexis McAllister gets a goal. That's not necessarily something you're banking on if you're Argentina, but it's a very positive development. Really good games all around from Argentina. Absolutely dominant. Totally deserved this victory. And on the balance of the three games, probably deserving group winners. And there was always a chance because it's Argentina. You're never going to, doubt their ability to win 2 games in a row in a group stage of a World Cup. But to go from where they were to where they are now, topping this group, which became even more important because of the Group D results that are going to be the second half of this video, says a lot about, to me, the mental place that team is in and the sense of calm and the lack of pressure that team feels. In past World Cups, I really think that loss to Saudi Arabia ends it for Argentina. Maybe they find a way to get out of the group stage, but they don't rebound this way, and they don't go back to looking like one of the best teams in this tournament and a team that can win the whole thing. But because Messi has that trophy, and all of those Argentinian players know that they helped deliver something for his country for him. This team is playing with a different kind of freedom, and it not only shows itself on the field most of the time, but I really do think it also shows itself on the way that they responded and the fact that this didn't snowball, that they were able to turn it around and get another big win to secure the top spot in Group C. Mexico nearly pull off a pretty incredible turnaround on match day 3 to get second place in this group. They needed a lot of things to happen. I mean, there were different ways it could happen, but they needed help And basically, they got what they needed from Argentina. So then it was a question of, can Mexico score the goals? First half, on top of the game, creating the better chances, but not all that threatening. Then all of a sudden, you come out of halftime, Henry Martin scores, Luis Chavez scores a phenomenal free kick, and it's 2-0 with plenty of time left, and it looks like it's a question of how many more Mexico are going to score. And because you were probably looking at a goal scored tiebreaker with the way this was all playing out, when Argentina got the goals and Mexico got the goals and both games were 2-0, Mexico were really in control of their own destiny. They just need to put one or two more goals up on the board. And, they have a late one called back for offside. It was clearly offside. It wasn't a, centimeter decision or anything like that. And they keep pushing. They keep creating chances. It wasn't for a lack of effort or a lack of initiative on the part of Mexico. But they just can't get the third goal and then concede one really late on against the run of play that ultimately didn't matter that much. It means Poland finishes second on goal difference. But had Mexico gotten one more, they would have evened it back up on goal difference and they would have scored that extra goal. They were one goal away. So you look at all of the different ways that this could have gone. Had they not conceded the second one against Argentina, had Poland only gotten one against Saudi Arabia, had they scored 3 in this game. It's a lot of what ifs. And it goes back to this margin of error conversation and putting yourself in the best position so that you don't have to go win a game by multiple goals and score 3 times in that game, no matter who the opponent is, to get out of your group. Can you hold Argentina to 1 goal instead of 2? Can you find a way to score against Poland? Right? Mexico were much better in this game, as you would expect them to be against the worst team in this group. But overall, through the 3 games, it just wasn't enough. And while they started scoring goals in this game, they weren't pouring them in the way they needed to. And I had them going through as the second team. They certainly put themselves in a position to have a real shot at doing that, but couldn't get the job done. Incredibly disappointing for Tata Martino. It's also not all that surprising the way this played out based on what has transpired over the past couple of years for Mexico. I tended to believe because it's a World Cup, they're going to find a way. And now the round of 16 streak is over. You don't have to have questions about can they win that game anymore. They didn't even get to it. So this is going to be a big moment for this Mexican men's national team moving forward. You've got to assume a managerial change is coming. You got to freshen this squad up a little bit. By the time you get to 2026 with games on home soil, games in North America, this team is going to look a lot different. So it's sort of getting into this fascinating transition and sort of what the next era of this team is going to look like, because this group, it was not good enough, in a difficult group with a very good Poland team in there who were not all that impressive outside of their goalkeeper and one performance from Robert Lewandowski, but they did enough and got a 2-goal win against Saudi Arabia, something Mexico didn't do. And so it's Poland going through as a result. On to Group D, and one of the more surprising results of the tournament so far. Denmark come in feeling good about their chances if they can beat Australia. It's Australia who come away with the win, though, and a win that they deserved. Now, did they dominate the game? No. But it was one of those situations where it was a whole bunch of Denmark possession that didn't amount to all that much, and Australia were incredibly comfortable. You would have thought Denmark came into the game as the team needing the draw, based on not necessarily their initiative. I mean, they were the team with the possession, the team trying to create chances, but from a just kind of sense of urgency and just overall pressure applied standpoint, they just didn't create much of anything. And Matthew Leckie gets his one opportunity, and credit to Matthew Leckie. That was one of I just kept wondering if that ball was going to get taken off of him. I thought there's no way he can keep creating this space as he's moving forward and get this shot off in a spot that's going to be dangerous. And sure enough, he did. I don't remember which defender it was, but he had him on skates and found a way to slide it past Kasper Schmeichel. And ultimately, they didn't even need that goal because they were just fine defensively. But that did end up going to the last game. It did. They ultimately, in this game, they didn't need it to hold off Denmark. They did need that goal to make sure they actually get to the round of 16. And so, credit to the Socceroos. Really, really good these last two games after that rather disastrous start against France. Now, remember, they did score the opening goal in that game too, and then it all fell apart. But this has been one of my questions for this Australia team. Losing by 3 to France can happen to just about anybody. I'm not too worried about that. Australia have proven they are one of the better teams in that Asian qualifying region. They have proven they can get to World Cups consistently. But can you find a way to beat and take points off the other teams, not necessarily the favorite, but those other teams in your group to give yourself a chance to get out? Can you beat a Tunisia and can you hang with a Denmark? And the answer for this team in 2022 was absolutely. And so they walk away with 2 wins, 6 points, and are going to play Argentina for a spot in the quarterfinals. It's a phenomenal story. Congratulations to the Socceroos. And this is where I'll point out how important it was that Argentina topped that group. I expected it to be Denmark. I think most people expected it to be Denmark. But instead of playing France, like Poland have to, you got the added benefit of not only avoiding France, but also you are playing Australia. And with all due respect to Australia, you're liking Argentina's chances to go through in that game. And then the other result worth mentioning here, Tunisia do beat France, which is why Australia ultimately needed that win to make sure they went through instead of Tunisia. Now, needs to be acknowledged, if I remember correctly, it was 9 changes from France. That was nowhere close to a preferred 11 because they just didn't really need it. And despite the fact they lost this game, still found a way to top the group. They had the 6 points coming in and had a goal difference advantage. So basically, if they didn't lose badly, they were going to be just fine and finish in first. And so Didier Deschamps decides to just take out about every single important player. Did bring some of them on at the end of this game. France did go for it, and that needs to be acknowledged as well as a credit to Tunisia for holding on to this win. And you could see what it meant, even though by that point at the very end they knew Australia had won, so Tunisia would not be going through. But there was still plenty of celebration, and justifiably so, for beating the defending world champions. And Wabi Khazri gets the goal. Antoine Griezmann thinks he's equalized. It gets ruled out. And so Tunisia do get this win. I have nothing to say about France in this regard. They're just fine. You just can't take anything away from this. They looked much, much better once the Mbappe's and Dembele's of the world came into the game. So not concerned at all about France. They did what they had to. Nearly got an equalizer. And really, so the last part of this I want to talk about, going back to the Denmark game, is the Denmark side of this. Australia outshot, in terms of shots on goal, had more shots on goal than Denmark. 4-3 in a game Denmark needed to win, and Australia was either going to need a draw or a win from. That should not happen. And you saw the same thing when Denmark played Tunisia, and a pretty similar thing when Denmark played France. That midfield just was not anywhere near dynamic enough. And it's the reason so many people, including myself, love this Denmark team. It's because you have Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and Christian Eriksen in the middle of the field. In a group outside of France that is not, full of elite midfielders. And there was just very little creatively for this Denmark team. And you add that to the fact that the striker position has been and was a problem in this tournament. You didn't get goals from anybody. And right, the difference is a moment like the one Matthew Leckie created for Australia. Australia do have players, and Wabi Khazri for Tunisia as well. Those other two teams do have players capable of creating something like that. And they don't need 500 chances. You have guys who can take sort of that half chance and turn it into a goal. And Denmark just didn't come close to getting something like that. And they weren't able to dominate games and run the show in the midfield the way they were supposed to. And so it is one of the biggest disappointments so far in this tournament. There's some other candidates that still have not played Game 3, so we'll have to see how that all plays out. But never in a million years did I see Denmark performing this poorly and ending up where they did in this group. But that's why you play the games. Australia were simply better over the 3 games, and Tunisia were simply better over the 3 games. And so I really thought you were going to see more from Denmark. I really thought getting Christian Eriksen back was going to be an added boost, and there was just nothing happening on the attacking half of the field. And I'll sort of throw the attacking midfielders, strikers. The wingers were pretty good at times. Andreas Skov-Olsen created some issues in this game at times, but the players you needed to make a difference, you needed to show up, especially in this must-win game, you just didn't get enough from. And so Group C, Group D matchups, you have Argentina playing Australia, and then you have Poland facing France. Had to think about that for a second. So your 4 matchups we know so far: Netherlands, U.S., England, Senegal, Poland, France, Argentina, Australia. 2 groups done, 2 more to go. That is all for today's recap. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.